My first backyard ultra, and what an experience. I arrived late, so I had to head straight for registration to collect my bib, grab my chip and get my inevitable DNF photo taken before a quick race briefing, all whilst my mum and sister set up a makeshift aid station under a gazebo. For those that don't know, a backyard ultra is a race where you run 6.7km loops in less than 1 hour until there's only one runner remaining. Everyone else gets a DNF. And trust me, the learning curve for this race format is steep, so let's get into it. Starting off at 10 AM alongside 165 other runners, it was clear from the very first yard that everyone had their own strategy and targets in mind. Whilst a couple runners broke from the group and charged ahead, the majority of us took our time assessing the route, working out which parts to walk and which to run. 47.5 minutes later and yard 1 was complete, and it was straight into the next as I started to consider strategy for the first time, because pacing was going to be crucial. Halfway through the second lap, comfortable pace around 7+ kilometers, feeling good. 2 laps out of however many. They're chasing me. In terms of the weather, you couldn't ask for much more. Sunshine, blue skies and a slight chill in the air. Perfect running conditions. The next couple yards flew by and I started to understand how important the walking breaks were going to be in this. After each yard, it was a case of getting back to the gazebo, putting my legs up for as long as possible, taking on some food and then doing it all over again. Even at this stage, with so many runners still in, it felt like the race hadn't even begun yet. Halfway through lap 6, feeling good, legs are feeling good, sports hernia flaring up slightly, but I'm all good. As the day went on, it got harder and harder to regulate my body temperature, so I was constantly swapping between my t-shirt and a long sleeve. Yard 7 signalled the beginning of the challenge. As the sun started to set and the temperatures quickly dropped, it was time for one last run without the head torch before a much needed change of shoes. Changing from my Brooks Adrenaline GTS's to my Brooks Catamount 2s, a change I probably should have made a lot earlier in hindsight. Events like these are strangely social. Unlike most ultra races where you might only see each other once or twice, a backyard ultra keeps everyone coming back to the same starting line each hour, and it's very easy to forget that you're actually in a race against others. And I suppose when you break it down, it's not actually a race, it's an endurance challenge, and you're just seeing how far your body and mind can take you when they work together in tandem. As much as everyone may want to win, the reality of it is that 165 out of the 166 runners will end up with a DNF. So you have to find your motivation, something deeper than victory. Whether it's testing your limits, finding friends, or simply seeing how far you can go. Success in a backyard ultra is less about beating others and more about discovering what keeps you moving when there's no clear finish line in sight. As we headed out with just our head torches, all the usual landmarks we'd familiarised ourselves with early in the day had completely disappeared. Time blurred, and instead of clear separate laps, it felt like one long never-ending stretch with just a couple minutes rest in between. In the late hours, I found my mind regularly negotiating with itself as it tried to find the easy way out. Between laps, I'd walk 50 metres back to my chair, weaving through the guy ropes between tents to finally rest my legs, grab some food and try to stay warm, though staying warm was nearly impossible once I stopped moving. By yard 16, most of the people I'd been talking to early in the day had dropped out, leaving just me and my thoughts out there in the darkness. I don't usually listen to music when I run, but this felt like an exceptional circumstance and was my last attempt at blocking out the creeping doubt. The guy ropes became harder to navigate, my feet became red raw, and I was too cold and too tired to change my shoes again, even though I knew that would have kept me going for a bit longer. And eventually, after 20 yards or 20 hours, I'd found my limit for the day, and I was done.
Energy to talk to camera. 20 yards done, congratulations. Talk to it.
Brutal. First one, learned so much yard by yard. Back again for more one day, but for now my legs are gone. That's all I've got to say. I haven't got any more energy. Done. It's so tempting, but back on my knees. Yeah. You just got on that road shoes as well on them trails, you just feel every stone, don't you?
Yeah.
Excuses, I know. My one rule going into this was just don't quit in the chair, and I made sure that was the case. With 8 minutes to go until the next lap, I made sure I waited around, crossed the start line and handed in my chip. And with that, I want to give a big thank you to Rasselbock Running for putting on such a great event, and to all the people I met there out on the trail. And a massive congratulations to the winner Ian Bethune, who completed 51 yards and a total of 212 miles, and a special mention to Lizzie Gatherer for the assist. And it's safe to say, I'm hooked, and I might have just signed up for another one later this year.